What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today we're going over episode number 21 for BBCan11. And we kind of kick things off with the fallout from HoH's eviction last week. Daniel is kind of saying at this point now there's two sides of the house. You got the shady bunch on one side, you got the girly pops on the other. Ty's kind of in the middle, but he is leaning more towards the shady bunch and that group than he is leaning towards the girls at this point. We also get Kuzi kind of saying like, you know what? I think they kind of messed up. If they were smart, they should have taken me out, which, you know what? Maybe they should have. We move on into the recap from the HoH competition, which we saw on last week's eviction episode, where Renee wins the HoH. And it's kind of funny because after the competition, the girly pops went up to the flamingo bedroom, and they were like jumping up and down celebrating. And Daniel and Ty, you could hear them jumping in the Circle K room. So they were kind of laughing at them kind of, you know, just being excited. Ty knows he's going up and he just kind of hopes like he can just win those competitions, finesse his way off that block again. The Shady Bunch also know it's probably going to be them up against Ty in this whole situation. So all of them are kind of worried about being that person to sit next to him because there is that good chance that he is going to win the veto. Anika actually says, like, listen, when I go in there, I'm going to push for Ty, but if I have to, I will throw Kuzi under the bus because she is the bigger target of the three of them. Why not try and push her as a potential nominee over her and Daniel? We also see how things have been a little bit on edge with the Shady Bunch recently. Since the chain of safety, at least, Anika was kind of telling Kuzi, like, hey, like, you got to be careful, because one thing Kuzi's been doing since the chain of safety was trying to claim that as her move, and how she picked the people she did in order to set it up the way it went with Santina leaving, and by doing that, I guess like word had gotten around that it's making Kuzi seem like a bigger target. So Anika was telling her this, like, hey, be careful how much you're pushing that, because it's putting a bigger target on your back. And Kuzi starts spiraling. She's like, well, who said it? And she's like, well, it doesn't matter who said it. It was being said. And Kuzi said, well, you're trying to protect someone. And she kind of runs off. She grabs Daniel and brings him into the pool room, starts venting to him. And then Anika comes and even more of a spat kind of goes. So there's definitely cracks that were forming in the Shady Bunch. But the cracks have been forming in that group even well before this as well, when we did see Daniel and Anika both kind of talking on the dailies about how at some point they know they have to get Kuzi out. This all then ends up leading to Kuzi being one of the first ones to like get Renee. She's like, I want to be the first one in there talking to her. So she grabbed her to chat, but she was so obvious about it. She did it right in front of Claudia, Nene, Anika, and Daniel kind of sitting in the living room there. And this made Anika and Daniel feel kind of slighted. Like she was doing this right in front of them, being so obvious about it, you know, game on, right? And they kind of wonder, like, what's up with that pair up there? What are they saying up there? And this kind of even more so brings the final four, which we had actually seen formed last week, but we'll see it actually again later in the episode, be kind of officially acknowledged on the show, of Renee, or not Renee, Claudia, Nene, Daniel, and Anika coming together. And this even pushes them more together, because they're like, well, if those two are up there, what do you think they're talking about? How they're the low men on the totem pole in their respective trios, and that the two of them should probably work together. When we do go up to that conversation, Renee kind of says like she doesn't want it to be Kuzi going up on the block. She's going to put Ty up. And she does have to kind of figure out whether it's going to be Daniel and Anika who are going to be going up next to each other. Kuzi doesn't end up sharing a lot of this convo with Daniel, which makes him very distrustworthy of her. He's like, I know she said more to you than that, but you're not giving me anything. So it's like, what are you doing? Game on, right? You're playing hard and you're just continuing to kind of not trust in the people who should be your strongest allies in the game. We saw Nene and Claudia have a meeting with Renee where they talk about, how it might actually be more beneficial to them to keep kind of a broken connection between Kuzi and Nika or Kuzi and Daniel than it would be to keep Daniel and Anika in together, because that's much more of a solid connection still that doesn't have as many cracks in it, because they all kind of realize Daniel and Anika are getting very annoyed at Kuzi. Kuzi also then makes a very obvious pitch to Claudia and Nene right in front of Daniel about how, like, oh, just keep me around till Final Five. Final Five being like the 5 girls, not including Daniel. And it was just very awkward. Daniel, you could tell, was very much over it. And this is just more continuation of Kuzi burning bridges with not just Daniel and Anika, but with Claudia and Nene, since that's just kind of pushing that 4 together, because they're now thinking, well, if Renee is protecting Kuzi, right, that is not great for us. We probably should get Kuzi out. So it was kind of funny, because when you watched on the dailies the Renee Kuzi conversation afterwards, when Renee had informed her, like, hey, I'm not going to be putting you up on the block, she was celebrating and dancing. She's like, a social game, it's a social game. And yeah, having a good relationship with the HoH and making sure that the HoH doesn't put you up is a big part, right? Like, you want to have that connection and relationship with Renee that she's not going to put you up. But by alienating these other 4 who are the main voters potentially in this eviction, you're not playing a good social game. You want to try and be able to have that good relationship with the HoH while also maintaining it not with only your allies, but any other potential voter, so that they would want to keep you over anyone else in the game. So while yes, keeping yourself off the block is part of the social game, so is having the votes to stay if you needed it. Anika ends up going to Wendy's with Renee. It ends up being Judd. Not Judd, Jed. It was Jedson, who was the alumni. Still funny nonetheless. Because, come on, Jedson, that's the alumni you bring. First of all, they've met him already. He was the one who did the ET interviews for all of them preseason. Why not bring in someone like Marty, who did like the gummy bear, right? That would have made more sense. And almost anybody else other than Jedson. There's just no reason why he should have been the one to be the alumni, but he was. We do then get Renee, who's informing Anika, who went on the Wendy's trip with her. The plan is Ty's going to be going on the block. She wants to keep Kuzi safe because, she was just nominated by them last week. That's kind of the excuse she's using. And Anika ends up leaving that conversation just fully not understanding why Kuzi is safe, even though Renee did say why. And she's like, what was Kuzi saying to Renee to keep her safe? Like, she doesn't get it. She ends up getting like very emotional with Kuzi about like 3 of them all having to kind of fight against each other this week. So it ends up being just very much a pity party for Anika. She kind of realizes there's a good 50-50 chance she's going to end up on the block here. We then saw Daniel meeting with Renee. Same deal, where he gets the word that Ty's going up and not Kuzi because she just went up. Daniel tries to reiterate to Renee that, like, he wants to work with her, and everything he said before, still counts to, working with her moving forward. So yeah, kind of trying to keep himself off the block there. We do see a little convo with Ty and Claudia where he was saying, if I don't win, right, like, it's got to be you that wins. And Claudia's like, oh, for the veto? And he's like, no, I can't trust in you to win a veto. I'm talking about the whole game. Which is true, but harsh. And then we see Nene kind of telling Anika and Daniel, like, we either have to try and keep it the same so that Ty goes, or if that doesn't happen, we need to push for Kuzi to go up as the replacement. And then we get kind of an interesting little segment here where Renee gets a secret task, but she gets the secret task And they really gave a good burn to her here. They were like, well, since you were dead last so many times, we want to give you this opportunity to potentially win 5,000 Wendy's points for everybody. So she has to do 3 things. She has to get somebody to do her laundry, which she does pretty easily. She has to get someone to scratch an itch, which she does get a few people to actually scratch her back. And then her third task was she had to convince somebody that she had a crush on them. This is a little bit of a harder one, and she ends up choosing Daniel. Of all the people in the house, she chose Daniel to be like, I have a little crush on you. There's so many better ways that she could have gone about this. She could have said it to Ty, right? And been like, listen, I never wanted to say anything, but like, there's a little bit of like tension here with us, right? And Ty would have bought that hook, line, and sinker. Ty's got the ego where he would have been like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. She could have even went to Nene and been like, look, Nene, like, I know we're just friends and, you know, it's not like that, but you're hot. Like, she could have done so much with this, but she went for Daniel, who didn't buy it at all, like, not even for a second. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because even when you fail your missions, you still win your missions, because everybody gets 5K Wendy's points anyway. What was the point? Why did we even bother with this filler? It just seemed like they were like, we need to fill an extra 15 minutes in this episode. How do we do it? Let's do this. We then saw the final 4 that we mentioned earlier that had formed kind of last week during Claudia's HoH with Anika, Daniel, Claudia, and Nene, and how, you know, it's them coming together minus Kuzi and Renee, you know, kind of working as this new kind of group that can move forward in this game. And Claudia and Nene, they try and push Kuzi as the potential replacement nominee to Renee. And they're still trying to wonder, like, what should we do, right? Should we go with the girly pop? Should we go with this new 4-person final 4 with Daniel and Anika? So Nene and Claudia are kind of in a really good position where they can float around a little bit and go with either side, depending on who goes into power, especially going into this double eviction and then the following week. We then get Daniel and Anika, who were just talking about, you know, being worried that whatever the nominations end up being, whether it is, you know, Anika or Daniel, the both of them kind of realize it's going to be one of them and not Kuzi at this point. They just worry about if Ty wins the veto, it could be both of them up on the block. They don't even say that, right? They just kind of are talking about being worried about Ty winning the veto. Kuzi walks in and makes it so awkward with like, oh, why'd you guys stop talking as soon as I entered the room? It's like, well, no, Kuzi, that's not exactly what they were doing. You're just taking it that way. And again, it just continues to drive that wedge between her and them, making it where they don't trust her as much as they used to. This group that was so solid since the beginning of this game is now falling apart at the end game, mainly because of Kuzi just kind of ruining it. She's acting very paranoid about stuff. She's being way too obvious about her game moves. And it's one of those subtle things where you can't necessarily campaign against your allies, but you want to campaign for yourself, but you also have to do it very softly, right? You don't want to be too hard, too fast with it, because if people see you playing too hard, they're just going to realize, oh, I was expendable to you the whole time. And then if they weren't working with you, they'll see that and go, oh, she's willing to throw her closest allies on the block. Why should I work with her? I should be working with them. So it just kind of continues to kind of push Kuzi down the track of nobody really trusting her, putting a bigger target on herself, which is kind of funny because at least from the episode narrative, that was what Anika was trying to warn her of in the very beginning. And then we get into, after that, the actual nomination ceremony. It does end up being Ty, pretty obvious, and Anika, who was put on the block. And with the potential plan here of maybe being Kuzi. if the veto was to get used. But Daniel is still obviously very worried about that as well. So that pretty much covers it for this episode. And other than that, we can get into a little bit of spoiler territory because we do know what's going to happen on tonight's episode with the veto. So if you don't want any of that before tonight's episode, now's the time to click off in 3, 2, 1. Ty won the veto. Of course, he won the veto. And here's the thing. This was the last possible week where you really could have backdoored somebody. In Big Brother Canada, it's different than the Big Brother US. Only 5 people compete in the veto competition. So there would be one person who isn't going to compete. Now, one person isn't a huge percentage chance that Ty wouldn't play in the veto, but it's a slim one. It's a small one, right? And if you really wanted Ty to be evicted this week, your best chance at doing it was not having him compete in that veto competition. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. Oh, well, if Ty won the veto, he would have saved Kuzi, and then it would have been Daniel and Anika going anyway. Okay, fine. But if you're Renee, that's good for you. That is perfect. Because again, they were talking about how it probably would have been better for them to keep a broken relationship between, Kuzi and Daniel or Kuzi and Anika than it would be to keep Daniel and Anika together. It really is only great for Claudia and Nene. I think Renee really kind of fumbled it with this. If she really wanted Ty out, she shouldn't have put him on the block because maybe he still gets to play, right? And maybe he does take Kuzi off the block. But even then, so what, right? You're still in kind of the same position and you're still getting somebody who you personally aren't getting out or aren't looking to work with into the future. So for Renee, I think she really fumbled it. It works out great for Claudia and Nene. It works out great for, at this point now, Ty, because he got to play in it and take himself right off the block. And I just feel like it would have been a better opportunity to do that. Next week, whoever the HoH is, they don't get to play in the veto. It'll only be the 5 people who compete for the veto, the 2 nominees and the 3 other people who are left in the house. So there's no chance for a backdoor then, which means it doesn't matter if Ty is nominated or not going into this double on Thursday. He will get a chance to play in not only the HoH, but also the veto. So you need to beat him twice in order to get him out. And that's going to continue now almost every week. Unless he does win an HoH, then you still will have to beat him at least once the following week if he does that. So this was probably your last best shot at being able to get Ty out of the game. Also, for Kuzi and Anika, maybe you shouldn't have worked with Daniel to use the veto and save Ty back in the invisible HoH week. If Ty would have left that week, you probably would have been left with Daniel, who, yes, they weren't working with as much, Dan. But you know what? I don't know if Dan would be as much of a comp beast as Ty is. Yeah, we saw him, perform pretty well, but maybe he doesn't win all of these vetoes like Ty did. Maybe Dan loses to Hope in the veto last week, and Dan goes home and Hope is still there. There's so many coulda, shoulda, wouldas that really went into it, but yeah, it's wild to me that they just keep giving Ty the option to play in the veto instead of trying to keep him off the block initially and have a better shot at getting him out. Because now he gets to play in every competition and you have to beat him twice to get him out. Wild scenario. But what do you guys think of the episode? What do you think of everything going forward? What's going to be happening on Thursday? Will it be Kuzi? Will it be Anika who goes home, to jury? And who will be following them out the door? Will it end up being Ty, or will it end up being one of the girls? Will it be Anika? Will it be Daniel? Will it be Kuzi if she ends up staying? I don't know if she really will, unless the Wendy's points come into play. We are seeing a lot of Wendy's points stuff being talked about, right? With an extra 5K going to all of them during this episode. So I don't know. We'll have to see where this all plays out. There's a strong possibility that the Wendy's points come into play on Thursday during the double, or even maybe beforehand to save Kuzi. We'll see. We should also get a daily today, which will give us maybe something. We'll see. I don't know how much info it's really going to be able to give us now at this point. But if there is anything of value, I will definitely have a recap on the channel a little bit later. So keep an eye out for that. If you guys are new here, though, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, hit that like button, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Check out the links to all of my socials in the description down below, my Twitch, my Twitter, my Discord. The new Kick stream will be live tonight watching the episode of Survivor. So make sure you're coming and hanging out with us on Kick. Then we end up raiding out to Bruno, who does stream the Big Brother episodes over there. So make sure you come on and hang out with us. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you for all the support you show me here on the channel. And I will see you next time.